Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjabiyari. Don't play it, but don't speed up. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Nitya Leela Pravista, His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Krishna, Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Radharaj Srimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Sri Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Yuga Dharma Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shuddhanam Premanam Sankirtan Mahayagna Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. For Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udayaya Nastapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamash Loke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Srimad Bhāgavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 33. You can make it louder. I don't want this right next to
This just
myself.
needs to be a little closer.
How about I put it right here?
It doesn't work as nicely. Thank you.
The last chapter, 33, Activities of Kapila. Chapter closing, coming to a close. Text number 30. Kapiloktena Chirata Aram Rama Nirvanam Bhagavantam Vapa Evam Sakapilokena Morginar Chirata Param Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Timing is also important when to do this. So there's no interruption. It's general instruction for everyone. Bhagavantam avapaha Evam sakapilokjena Marginar Chivataparam Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Bhagavantam avapaha Evam sakapilokjena Marginar Chivataparam
Evam sa kapilo tena. Margena chirataparam.
Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam.
Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam.
Bhagavantam Avapaha.
Bhagavantam Vapaha.
Evam sa kapilo tena.
Evam sa kapilo tena.
Margena chirataparam.
Margena chirataparam.
Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam.
Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam.
Bhagavantam Vapaha.
Bhagavantam Vapaha.
Evam sa kapilo tena.
Evam sa kapilo tena.
Margena Chirataparam.
Margena chirataparam.
Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam.
Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam.
Bhagavantam Avapaha.
Bhagavantam Vapaha. Evam sa kapilo tena. Margena chirataparam. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam. Bhagavantam Vapaha.
Evam,
Evam,
thus, sa, she, Devahuti, Kapila, by Kapila, Uktena, instructed, Margena, by the path, Chirata, soon, Param, supreme, Atmanam, super soul, Rama, Brahman, Nirvanam, cessation of material existence, Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Avapa, she achieved, Ha, certainly, my dear Vidura, by following the principles instructed by Kapila, Devahuti soon became liberated from material bondage, and she achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Super Soul without difficulty. Report by His Divine Grace. ISKCON's founder, Raya, Prabhu. 3 words have been used in this connection to describe the achievement of Devahuti. Atmanam, Brahma Nirvanam, and Bhagavantam. These refer to the gradual process of discovery of the absolute truth, mentioned herein as Bhagavantam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead resides in various Vaikuntha planets. Nirvana means to extinguish the pangs of material existence. When one is able to enter into the spiritual kingdom or into spiritual realization, one is automatically freed from material pangs. That is called Brahma Nirvana. According to Vedic scripture, Nirvana means cessation of the materialistic way of life. Atmanam means realization of the super soul within the heart. Ultimately, the highest perfection is realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is to be understood that Devahuti entered the planet which is called Kapila Vaikuntha. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets predominated by the expansions of Vishnu. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets predominated by the expansions of Vishnu. All the Vaikuntha planets are known by a particular name of Vishnu. As we understand from Rama Samhita, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam. Ananta means innumerable. The Lord has innumerable expansions of His transcendental form, and according to the different positions of the symbolic representations in his four hands, he is known as Narayan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, etc. There is also a Vaikuntha planet known as Kapila Vaikuntha, to which Devahuti was promoted to meet Kapila and reside there eternally, enjoying the company of her transcendental son. Om Gyanatamandasya Janandana Shilakaya Chakshurvridamnena Tasmai Shri Ravena Shri Jainamano Vishtam Stabhidamnena Bhutale Svayam Namayam Nandi Slavanandiyam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utabharakamalam Shri Rupam Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagadatam Saganavaganadanvidam Tam Sadivam Sadvidam Savridam Vikina Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Bhaktitam Hey Krishna Pavana Sandhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Divyat Bindaranya Kalpa Jumada Shrimad Ratnakara Sundar Samasto Shrimad Radha Shrila Indadevo Kristala Visi Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavani Ishvari, Vishamanu Sate Devi, Ramami Yuri Priya, Vanchakalpatarubhyas Java, Kripas and Dubhi Vajapati Dharma, Bhavane Vyo, Krishna Devi, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Shri Radha, Shri Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyabadi Paskita Deshitarane Evam Sakapiloktena Marginarchirata Param Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Bhagavantam Abhapaham. My dear Vidura, by following the principles instructed by Kapila, Devahuti soon became liberated from material bondage. She achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Supersoul without difficulty. Srila Prabhupada as the dutiful messenger of his beloved spiritual master and of the entire Parampara, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna himself, is presenting the entire message for complete desire of the Lord, what everyone who is his part and parcel, ultimate pure devotee, but have forgotten and fallen into this material world should know, should hear, know, and understand the glory of their actual position in relationship to him in most pleasurable, Paramananda, supreme eternal bliss in relationship to him through pure bhakti yoga, pure devotional service. So, it's a successful human life. The process of birth to old age, disease, and death ultimately is meant to teach everyone, to shake everyone up, to realize that their position in this material world is most unnatural, regrettable, undesirable, and ultimately horrible. Just previously, as part of Kapila Dev's instruction, describing in its entirety the process of birth to death and how the conditioned soul suffers throughout the this entire process, and the ultimate suffering is at the time of death, the conclusion of life. And that's not just physical suffering, but the reality that one's entire life not only has been wasted, but been used in such a way that will ensure not only one's repetition of the process of birth, death, disease, and old age, but first going to hellish existence where one will, the suffering is so great that the relief that is offered at the end of this process, which the conditioned soul gladly accepts or has no choice to accept, is repeated birth in lower species of life. Prabhupada describes that in regards to the hellish situation that Kapila Dev explains, is that the conditioned soul has to eat his own flesh or the flesh of others offered there, or eat their stool and urine, being trained up to become hogs and dogs. In these practices, he gets conditioned to be able to do that in hellish planet, so in the next life he happily accepts it and thinks that this is happiness. Prabhupada on a morning walk in Vrindavan, seeing the hogs emerging out of the stool water, the sewer, gleefully eating the stool and sucking up the liquid, thinking, just see how terrible, how heavy is this illusory energy. So, the conditioned soul greatly laments as the Yamadut is dragged into the hellish planets. So Prabhupada warned us of this and revealed to us just how glorious is coming to the end of life for the devotee, a life well spent. So these verses are proportionately, or by comparison, so diametrically opposed to the situation for the conditioned soul in this material world, and especially in this Kali Yuga, where everyone is so fallen. You can read the final instruction of Srimad Bhāgavatam, of Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, 2 chapters. Maharaj Parikshit passes away, I believe, is chapter 4. And there's some coda, some final overture to Srimad Bhāgavatam in regards to the description of Markandeya Rishi. But chapter 2, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, and chapter 3, the Bhumi Gita, where the personified earth planet herself reveals the situation from her own experience, what are the symptoms of Kali Yuga. To fully equip Maharaj Parikshit and all of us to make a complete, as described here, Brahma Nirvana, cessation of material existence. It is a practical reality, but it is based from a cessation of material existence, of course, ultimately, but it is based on one's complete disinterest and detachment from all things material desires. Make the words of the spiritual master one with one's heart. Do not desire anything else to remain within one's heart. Love for the instruction, the order, the words of the spiritual master raises one to the highest position. So Srila Prabhupada is the par excellence spiritual master in this age of Kali, and he is representing for us the Gauravani, the actual, what does Lord Chaitanya want for all of us in this world? What does he want to give? What does he want us to do? So that instruction of Lord Chaitanya is a particular feature of the mercy of the Lord. When you read the very wonderful and perhaps one of the most large and voluminous chapters of the Srimad Bhāgavatam, chapter 87 of the 10th canto, Prayers by the Personified Vedas, all the great personalities and demigods there glorifying the Lord. And they're saying of all of his unlimited glories, his greatest glory is his causeless mercy to the conditioned souls. So the spiritual master is understood to be the mercy incarnation of the Lord. His love for the conditioned souls, and what to speak of his disciples, his devotees, is unlimited. I was just hearing a Prabhupada memory, and there was one devotee named Vaikuntha. I don't know, Prabhu, if you remember him. Hansarupa Prabhu might, because he was part of the Rath Yatra 1976 New York Rath Yatra crew, living on the Hudson Yards property, building the Rath Yatra carts for all the weeks and perhaps a month or more that it took. And one of his duties was going out in the middle of the night and putting the Rath Yatra posters up all over the city. And back then, not so much these days, but back then it was like kind of like a competition between different people wanting to put up their own posters, post no bills. So whoever would win would ever get theirs up at the right time in the wee hours of the evening. Then during the daytime, nobody would touch them. So like they had a route, they put up the posters, and then they would go back and check it out. Somebody would put up their other poster for some nonsense, materialistic thing. And then they would repost their posters on top. So completely filthy and dirty, coming back to the temple, like at dawn, and covered with all this sticky. And they're in the lobby, and the elevator doors open, and there is Srila Prabhupada, and he looks at these devotees who have just done this, just looking all ragged and dirty. But then later, and so the devotees were like, oh my goodness, Prabhupada is displeased. But then later it was reported to Srila Prabhupada, now to their knowledge, that this is what they were doing, and Prabhupada said, oh, very, very nice. And then that was later reported to that crew of devotees, and they were relieved. So anyway, his realization by Vaikuntha, he had a stepfather who passed away in the same year, 1977, that Srila Prabhupada departed the planet. And he said he was a very good man. He treated us with kindness and generosity. He took care of us, 3 kids that weren't his own. And even now, so many years later, I think of him from time to time. But Srila Prabhupada, I had whatever love I had for him at the time of his presence, but now some 47 years later, that love has just grown and grown and grown. And I think of Srila Prabhupada, not like his good stepfather, I think of him every day, all day. So that is spiritual love. It simply grows and grows and grows and gets bigger and better, more transcendental knowledge and realization. And the pure devotee, the spiritual master, the actual spiritual master, by the empowerment of Krishna, he can do that for everyone, not just for those who are present, to be able to functionally, practically, and perceivably become his disciple through the process of initiation, but for those who accept the teachings of such a pure devotee in their heart and live their life by them, the exact same result is there. So when we glorify Srila Prabhupada and call him Jagadguru, the savior of the fallen, the spiritual master of the entire universe. These are not, we should understand just how deep and profound these titles are for Srila Prabhupada. It's not just, nice Vaishnava words or poetry. 3 words are used in this connection. Atmanam, Brahma Nirvanam, and Bhagavantam. Super soul, Brahma Nirvanam, cessation of material existence, and Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These refer to the gradual process of discovery of the Absolute Truth. So Srila Prabhupada assures everyone, as soon as you take to the process of devotional service, and you make the pact with the spiritual master, that I vow to follow these principles for the rest of my life, the rest of forever, and to chant 16 rounds minimum every day. One time, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, who is now residing in Mayapur, he asked Srila Prabhupada, how can we convince and defeat all of these heavy mental speculating scholars and scientists? And Prabhupada simply said, chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 rules. And Ravindra Swarup was kind of incredulous. He said, that's it? That's all? And Prabhupada said, that's all that's required. She achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead without difficulty. If you become conscious of me, you will cross over all the obstacles of conditional life. It's not just your obstacles that you'll cross over. The Uttamadhikari ultimately, his faith is so strong that he can convert even the most stone-cold atheist. Of course, Prabhupada would say, what can be done? If there is even a hint of a desire, sincerely, to not just know the absolute truth, but because Krishna is in their heart, if there's just a little bit of favorable non-enviousness, even a slight, amidst all the other horrendous, the pure devotee knows how to bring that out. Conquer and you're 99% bad, 1% good. You can bring that out. There's perhaps the most remarkable, actually not story, but what happened was, what was his name? Crazy Peter. I believe he joined in Buffalo and had spent some time in Boston. This is the late 60s, early 70s. And Giriraj Swami actually tells the story of his memory that he would just very unusual and antisocial and not very harmonious. And by all consideration, such a person was not fit to live in a temple or was a candidate to get kicked out of the temple. And, Prabhupada had cautioned devotees, he would write in his books, the temple is not a place for lazies and crazies. The temple is not a place for worthless clubs of lazy and crazy men who are useless for both spiritual and materialistic purposes. The managers must be very alert to this. Prabhupada writes this in the 7th canto. So his instruction to devotees at that time was, can't you be tolerant? If you look up Giriraj Swami on Prabhupada Memories, he tells this story. And then Crazy Peter later went on to be Kushakrata Prabhu, who was one of the most, today, prolific translators of so many wonderful Vaishnava literatures from Sanskrit. Now, Giriraj Swami had been asked to go to India by Srila Prabhupada, and of course became so important and instrumental to fulfill particularly and especially Prabhupada's desire to secure the Juhu land. First you have to secure the land before you can build anything on the land, and then finally build a temple. So he hadn't seen Peter in, was it 1969 to 1991? How many years is that? 22 years. So then he sees him all initiated, and he heard the name of Kushakrata by 1991. He started translating and publishing books in earnest in, say, 1984, 85. And he knew of this. This is Kushakrata, this is crazy Peter. So the transformative power, the desire of the pure devotees, I have created your good fortune. So we're hearing this morning in the, reading a little excerpt after reciting the 10 offenses of Shishasana, that Prabhupada said the same thing. Chant 16 rounds, follow 4 relevant principles. These are authorized instructions, and Krishna will accept. Prabhupada was one time asked, it is said that if one thinks of Krishna at the time of death, he will go to Krishna. What happens if one thinks of you? And Prabhupada thought momentarily, not for a long time, he closed his eyes, and then a big giant smile came to his face as he opened his eyes and said, yes, the result will be the same. The Supreme Personality of Godhead resides in various Vaikuntha planets. Nirvana means to extinguish the pangs of material existence. When one is able to enter the spiritual kingdom or into spiritual realization, one is automatically freed from material pangs. So the instruction of the spiritual master, seemingly how to conduct ourselves, what to do, is non-different than being back home, back to Godhead in the spiritual world. You're already back home, back to Godhead. Govinda Dasi, she was initiated in her painter's jeans with paint stains on them. After meeting Srila Prabhupada in the first week or two of January 1967. And she thought that initiation, you're like, wow, that's it. We've reached perfection. Nothing more needs to be done. I'm there, eureka, And although feeling different, but she also felt like, well, I still have, material anxiety, material desire. And Prabhupada, this is a very basic question for Srila Prabhupada, and he's like encouraging his newly initiated daughter, and there was a fan sitting in the room. You say, you see this fan? The fan is spinning very, very fast, but when you hit the off switch and pull out the electricity, it takes some time, especially these big giant fans we have down by the kitchen, or industrial fans. It takes a while for the spinning to stop. Not very long, like hell and air. So that shortness is compared to how long we've been in this material world. Devotees would realize that Prabhupada, his unlimited love for us, but it's based on complete knowledge. Sentimental love. People, I love you, but they don't really know their motives, their ulterior things, and what kind of hideous thing is going to jump like a jack-in-the-box later, and the whole thing is going to break apart. But the pure devotee, his love is eternal. It's based on complete knowledge. See, all the previous lives, all of this, just everything. But beyond all that, just like a miner looking for gold, he sees who you are. Because everything in the relationship between the pure devotees and Krishna is based on unmotivated, no ulterior motive, pure love. So the pure devotee's glance for one in this material world looking for love and real reciprocation, it's like being thrown, all you know is being like wandering in the sand dunes of the Sahara Desert your entire life. Little fact, Saudi Arabia is the only country on the planet that has no lakes and no rivers. And then finally, here is water. It was the realization of one very nice devotee, Prafulmukhi Devi Dasi. She joined in San Francisco, Berkeley. And she said that when Prabhupada looked at me, it was very clear that here is a person who truly loves me, and I realized I had never been loved in my entire life. So that love is personal, but at the same time, it's all pervasive. We're about to celebrate the appearance day of Her Supreme Majesty, Srimati Radharani, and Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives a opening preface to one of his books, and it says, all glories to Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna, the enemy of the Mora demon. Although it is all pervasive, it still increases at every moment. Although it is so important, most important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is the most pure, it is beset with seeming contradiction, or you can't predict it. So that is the basis that Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement expands upon. When Durvasa Muni came to his senses and was being instructed by Lord Narayan himself that I cannot forgive you. You must go to Maharaj Ambarish. He said, the devotees are in my heart. And Prabhupada explains that the devotees are very, very dear to the Lord, who takes up the missionary activity. Krishna even says in the Bhagavad Gita, one who preaches this message of Bhagavad Gita to the devotees. You think maybe that's like a slip of the tongue on Krishna's? One who preaches this message of Bhagavad Gita to the non-devotees. That seems more, like an appropriate instruction. Okay, let's preach Bhagavad Gita to the devotees. We're going to stay in this room every day, 7 days a week after the morning program, and just instruct each other in Bhagavad Gita. After breakfast, we'll have a break for lunch, and then we'll come back for our arati, and we'll keep hearing about Bhagavad Gita. Then we'll go to sleep, and we'll just stay here. And whoever comes in the door by their own good luck or good fortune or just some miracle, so be it. But we're just following this instruction very rigidly. No. The devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord. They know the inner purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks in approaching ignorant men to engage in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. So, when Krishna preaches this message to devotees, everyone's a devotee, potentially, not considering who is fit, who is unfit, who is a proper place, proper time. Of course, we make distinctions. yesterday, we were in Battery Park, while going on in Union Square yesterday was this horrendous protest rally. I won't say for what or for what cause. And it probably wouldn't have been good for us to have been there, for example. So, if the candidates for conversion are too unfavorable, then one should put his energy elsewhere, Prabhupada said. But at the same time, to the degree that you're more empowered, to the degree that you are in touch with this Kripa Shakti, this mercy potency of the Lord, you can do miracles, as Srila Prabhupada has done. So, we should keep these things in mind, and we should never be in anxiety about the ultimate outcome of our lives. We see how Srila Prabhupada demonstrated personally. He didn't have to retire or prepare himself in any separate way for going back home, back to God and saved, except to stay on the preaching battlefield. As he said to Krishna Maharaj, on bringing him back from what was his desired tour of the world in September 1977, he was about to depart the planet in just less than 8 weeks' time, 8 or 9 weeks later. We will go to London, we will go to New York, we will go to Los Angeles, we will go to New York, we will go to the Gita Nagari farm, Los Angeles, Hawaii. It's only making it to London. In this condition, a bundle of bones, and you have brought me back successfully, Krishna will bless you. Right up to the last breath, fixed in the order of his spiritual master, already back home, back to Godhead, and bringing everyone who has any type of contact with him, physical or otherwise, along with him. Thank you very much. Verse once again. My dear Vidura, by following the principles instructed by Kapila, Devahuti soon became liberated from material bondage, and she achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Super Soul without difficulty. Would anyone like to ask a question, even though it's 9 o'clock? Grantaraj, Srimad Bhāgavatam, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai, Lord Ramanandi, Hari Bol.
Praise Rama Prabhu Ki.